Welcome back to Extra Trashy. We have too much to talk about this episode because we have the Alex gameplay trailer revealed with the release date coming up with an actual full balance patch, little investigations and testings into Battle Hub live streaming features, and one of the first majors in quite some time in Frosty Faustings with big results for Street Fighter 6 and a big event for a game that needs it, 2XKO. We got iDom here back in the building, fresh off his trip from Frosty Faustings. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good. You know, I got off my plane and I'm right here. Well, I'm not right here, but I actually, yeah, you got to do it for the love of the people. And I know you weren't there, but so many people actually at Frosty's told me they enjoyed the podcast. So, you know, shout outs to you guys watching, and shout outs to the one guy who said I had better takes than Brian. That guy's a goat.
Wow, insane! One person out there exists. Okay. Yep. That, well, listen, there's a take for everybody out there, right? That's why you pick your favorite niche podcast to validate all your world opinions, and you stick with it for life. And that's what we are here at Extra Trashy. So yeah, we'll definitely get into the recap and get iDom's personal experience being there at Frosty Faustings to break down how it was in person. But first, I definitely want to get into Alex. We're a little bit late on Extra Trashy to cover Alex. I think he had one of the best gameplay trailers we've seen so far. It was mind-blowing to see that they took the Lariat dispenser from Street Fighter V, where Lariat was a bigger star than Alex, I feel like, in that game. And they turned him into potentially one of the most complex stance characters we have in Street Fighter 6. That was mind-blowing. Prowler stance is the name of the game with this character. He's no longer a charge character at all, which is a little bit controversial to some. There's some discourse about charge erasure in the Street Fighter 5 era or Street Fighter 6 era. And on top of that, his moves have to segue into this Prowler stance, which they automatically transition into this stance on hit and sometimes on punish counter as well. There's certain individual states that cause these transitions to occur, and he has an entirely different set of moves available in and out of that stance. So he's going to be a character that you're going to have to actually optimize how to flow in and out of this stance, which controls a lot of the options. Things like Head Stomp are only available in the stance. Lariat is available only in the stance, and it also is able to charge and have armor. So it's just crazy. Like, what were your first impressions seeing that trailer? Because I just couldn't believe I watched that trailer and I was like, I actually don't know what's going on. And all I expected to see was Lariat and Powerbomb. Hey, thanks for checking out the brand new Trash Talk content, and maybe you're enjoying the new and refreshed look on the brand new Trash Talk YouTube channel. Well, whether or not you're tuning in on YouTube or Spotify or another podcast platform, I want to thank today's sponsor, you. To commemorate kicking off the new season of Trash Talk, we've also launched a new merch line. This new merch line's on a brand new merch store over at Orchid 8. You can check out t-shirt and hoodie designs for the new Trash Talk logos and Extra Trashy logos. We also have brand new unique designs like Hajoken, custom move lists, one more coffee sip for real, and of course, Brian F's signature spaghetti. On top of that, of course, we've got all the designs on mugs as well. To check out what's available, just head over to brianf.shop to see all the brand new merch. Okay, that's all I got. Back to the episode.
As a huge wrestling fan growing up, I saw Alex and I was just naming the moves off the back. He had the spear, he had the DDT, yeah, he had a sleeper hold. He did. I didn't know what the level 3 was, and I was kind of like analyzing it for a while. It looked like a figure 4 lock, but I don't know exactly what it was. But I guess it was kind of an ankle lock to say, but he had the one wing angel. So I thought they did a really good job with Alex. You know, Alex feels like an apology tour from Street Fighter 5, because like Alex in 5 was like so misunderstood. I think that's the best word to put it. Alex was just Lariat, you know, go for your Demon Dan highlight and, you know, play your game. But I think they did a really good job. I love that. It's a callback to all the wrestling moves that he has, and you know, wrestling fans are going to be excited everywhere.
Yeah, iDom's definitely a wrestling nerd. He was telling me before we started this that he knew all the move names just by watching the trailer. And I'm like, bro, when I watch Alex and I see the moves and read the names, I'm just memorizing the names of the move with the video timestamps to figure out what they're called. Meanwhile, iDom's rattling off all these wrestling move names because apparently they did a good job of matching his moveset to real life wrestling moves. I have no idea. I'm not involved in that scene. So I'm learning about wrestling through Alex in Street Fighter 6. But yeah, it's funny you mentioned Alex in Street Fighter 5 because on top of him being mostly known for gameplay wise Lariat, he was the first DLC character for Street Fighter 5. And I think the other big talking points about him were French fry hair and legs on backwards, right? Like that was it. Like this was not a popular character. He was not very good most of the time. I think towards the end he was decent. Like he was definitely buffed a lot by the end of Street Fighter 5's lifespan. But he did not resonate beyond kind of going for robbery highlights. You mentioned Demon Dan. He made a career off going for V-Trigger 1 parry highlight reels. He was a bit of a gimmick character, right? Like his whole shtick was he's not good, but he can randomly rob you and make a big spectacle out of it. And then, the other player's like, oh no, I got robbed by Alex out of nowhere. And that was his whole thing. Like it wasn't like you're picking Alex to win the game for the most part. That didn't exist. So he felt more of a cheesy kind of character in 5 and very one note with how reliant he was on Lariat. That moved at everything. This time around, it's a completely different vibe because Alex was very simple. Lariat and Powerbomb in 5. This game, no, man. Like, you don't even get access to Lariat until you get into Prowler stance. So you're going to have to understand how to get into that stance to access these things. The trade-off is he seems to have a ton more options and, like, different transitions out of that stance. Different moves have different properties depending on if they counter hit or punish counter as well. So his routing is going to be way more complex, it seems like, and his Oki way more complex as well because some moves cause knockdowns and then transition into Prowler stance either mid-combo or during like a juggle state. So I can see him being like a lot more of a refined gentleman's character. You know what I mean? Like he was kind of unga bunga before. He was just kind of do Lariat and command grab. That's very surprising to me.
Alex really got the glow. I mean, you see Alex's like abs, like I'm telling you, the whole character looks so much like different. The heel kind of gimmick they're also doing with Alex, everyone's a loser, I'm better than everyone. It's just so good. They actually did a really good job. Now what I'm a bit I'm curious how the whole Prowler stance thing is going to work and how all that stuff is going to tie into, because I did see Alex was listed as a hard character in Street Fighter 6, but obviously there's some hard characters that aren't hard like Bison. So I'm very curious.
That's true. They missed on that one.
But I'm very curious to see how the gameplay is going to play if you get a punish counter, because he had like a lot of transitional moves. I think he got like a punish counter. I want to say like a light kick, and then it like some animation played where he like grabbed your leg and like twisted your ankle or something. So I'm very curious how all that's going to work. Do you have to initiate it with the punish counter or like what? But like I said, they made Alex super interesting, and I think they're doing a good job with a lot of the season 3 characters, to be honest.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. He's most similar to Chun-Li, right? With her stance, has different options where she can segue into her stance and then cancel out of it. He also can't block in stance as well. So it's weird how the closest character we have to him right now is sort of like Chun-Li. Like Chun-Li if she was a grappler. So it's going to be very interesting to see how that plays out. And yeah, like you mentioned, a lot of the moves transition to other sequences on specifically punish counter. So he has different grabs that he can go for out of the stance as well. Like he doesn't have straight up a DDT grab to grab opponent standing. Instead, he has a grab, I think they call it the dangerous arm bar, which if it's on a punish counter will also transition to an additional damage with a DDT animation as well. So there's a whole set of moves that have unique transitions, and that's only the small subset that they mentioned on the blog post and that were actually visible in the current gameplay trailer. In the blog post, they mentioned, I believe there's like 12 total moves out of the stance, and they only mentioned like 3 or 4. So there's going to be a lot to discover and optimize with this character. And it's going to be a lot of fun. Like I was so surprised. Alex kind of bored me in Street Fighter 5 to one note. I'm looking forward to trying him out in this game. So I think he will actually be a little bit more complex than people were expecting. And to me, that's a plus. There was a few minor complaints where people were like, I kind of just wanted to do Lariat and command grab. I did see a little bit of that, but I think overall the reception's really positive. On top of the fact that Kenny Omega's doing stuff with him too.
Yeah, I was going to say I know I'm going to get flamed for this. I am also really excited to try out Alex because of charge erasure. They got rid of charge moves. My complaining works. Let's go, Capcom. These charge moves are cringe. And
that's true.
We're getting rid of them, opening
Uh,
the floodgates for more player.
People really hate charge, man. I was surprised to see.
That's me. That's me.
Yeah. As an old school charge player at this point, I'm calling myself old school. I love charge. I think charge is sick, and I think it's one of the ways in the era of input buffers allows for skill expression due to the fact that you can have really complex combos that still use input buffers, but charge timing plays around input buffers in a very creative way. Try to do guile boom loops in Street Fighter 6, for example. Street Fighter 5 doing Urian headbutt loops and Oro fireball loops as well. They play within the rules of the buffer system, but then you have higher skill ceiling for combo conversions by optimizing that charge and doing tricks on how to build charge and delay your charge cancels, things like that of that nature, which I really enjoy. Having that variability in your combo routing to go for harder combos when you have charge. But for the most part, I've seen a lot of people saying that they really don't like charge. Like beginners, I think on average, from my perspective, tend to not like charge, which is weird to me because when I was a beginner, Ryu was the hard character. I picked Balrog and I was like, whoa, I'm winning way more. You know what I mean? Like I immediately felt the other direction. But on average, it feels like most people on the average player level think charge is a hindrance.
I think for charging, it's you start off a game with learning Ryu. Ryu's like your basic character, the Ryu, the sole bad guy, the scorpion, it doesn't matter. So you're learning motion. When somebody has to learn charge, is like a whole nother realm you're opening up. And then it starts getting awkward, and especially if you never really vibe with any of the charge characters. I don't think across all the fighting games I've played, I've even had a slight interest in charge character. And I can't even think of one I would actually want to play in an older game, but they were charged and then I got gate kept. But I think it's better, but I don't want to get rid of charge. Don't get me wrong. Like Gal should be charged. The old charge characters should exist, but I do think Alex might be a bit more of a breath of fresh air without a charge.
Yeah, like for me personally, I don't mind Alex not being a charge character. I think there's consequences to that for other characters, especially like Bison. Scissor Kick not being charged is crazy to me still to this day. I think me personally, I feel like Bison's rework went down a direction I'm not too much of a fan of. I think he's too degenerate and lost a bit of his unique identity with having scissors being motion. And I don't know, he's just very much a rushdown character in the generic Street Fighter 6 sense in a lot of ways. But for Alex, I don't think that was a huge part of his identity at least from the Street Fighter 5 perspective. Maybe it's a bit more prevalent in Street Fighter 3. But there's also, on top of trying to make the design more appealing to new players, I do think there's also modern considerations here, of course, because you can't have multiple charge moves on the same direction. You can only have one button to activate or one back charge move and one down charge move, which prevents you from having to headbutt or Alex had the stun gun headbutt and he also had head stomp, right? You can't have two down charge moves. That's impossible, really, or very unlikely unless they take some creative liberties with the current setup. So they actually combined his moveset in a unique way. For example, the elbow would have been his previous back charge move. Instead, they combined it where light punch and medium punch for his fireball punch input is flash axe, and then heavy punch is going to be the flash chop. So he doesn't even have a full 3 strength variation of elbow and chop. Instead, they combined it to be one move, sort of like Terry Burn Knuckle, where quick burn is the light punch version, and then medium and heavy do the other Burn Knuckle variations. And even head stomp, it's only accessible during Prowler stance. It's a stance move. So they definitely got really creative with his moveset. Overall, I think from first glance, this seems like a really positive direction for the character, even with the charge erasure. I think he looks dope. And it's going to be really interesting to see how complex he really is. I mean, he even has an empty jump hop out of the stance. Like, what? Who would have thought that Alex would be doing strings into empty jump hop to mix you up?
He has DJ's little hop step, which is very weird because it did cross up. That's something DJ can't do with his. But I'm curious to see how everything does play out. I hope it isn't I hope it's more like a Chun-Li kind of character and not like a Bison kind of character or simplicity. I do hope Alex kind of uses more of his stance moves to kind of be more unique. But I will say one other thing. You guys better get ready to play a character without a DP. I don't think Alex has a reversal, and I know people are not ready to go for that life. Playing with no reversal in 6 is a nightmare.
Why are you ragging on the Alex players? They didn't have a DP before. They had armored.
But wait,
move. They had...
that was Street Fighter 5. This is 6.
Okay.
No, 6 is way more ham on offense than 5.
Yeah, but the level 1's invincible.
That's never enough.
Never enough.
Never enough.
I think you're just suffering through it right now. I don't know if I care that much about the reversal. I do think it knocks you down a tier for sure, but is it the only defining factor?
Playing Viper without a reversal is impossible. You just get mauled most of the time. Having people that don't even have to think twice about doing anything to you is like the worst thing in the game.
Yeah. Okay. Bison has to deal with that though.
Yeah, but Bison's
so it's a trade-off. Just be insane elsewhere.
Yeah. Bison's thing is like he's just broke. I don't want to say broken. He's just like insane everywhere else. Like baby's first SF6 character.
Well, maybe Alex will be insane everywhere else. He looks complex enough. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I guess a big part of this is don't get knocked down. That's for sure. We'll see how he pans out. But Alex will also be releasing on March 17th with officially confirmed a big old balance patch. This is very interesting because before this announcement went through, they did announce that Alex would be releasing on March 17th. Then a bit after that trailer went out with the gameplay, they confirmed that there will be a balance patch on March 17th. They didn't give details in the official announcement about the balance patch, but they did say that there will be battle balance adjustments for all characters. However, there's even more context to this because prior to this, in December, Matsumoto had a bit of a conversation with Daigo. Producer Matsumoto talked to Daigo at the Esports Awards, and there was a really interesting video on Daigo's YouTube channel where it was like just a random conversation. They had a live broadcast station set up, and this was the Esports Awards where players like Kawano Goichi, they're actually winning awards out there in Japan because esports, Street Fighter 6 is actually a major top 1 esport in Japan. And he mentioned in that interview that they had originally planned for the December balance patch to be potentially the biggest update so far. And that instead of releasing it in December, that balance patch ended up being just the minor adjustments to Elena, Mai, and Sagat. He said that there was discussions with the esports division and the R&D division, and they said they re-examined the volume of the update, and they wanted to make it more clear the differences between the character changes and the overarching changes that would affect the entire cast. And with that in mind, they kicked the can down the road. Now, after this conversation a month later, then the announcement comes that we're having this balance update going out for Alex. So it sounds like they originally did have a huge balance update for December, which is what they did last December. They put out maybe the biggest update so far, December of 2024 going into 2025. We expected something similar in December 2025. So they kicked the can down the road, and we might be getting a actually substantial major balance shakeup, an update potentially to something that impacts the overall game coming up in March. What do you think, iDom?
I don't think they're going to change the system mechanics that much. I do think they're going to change every character, though. I do actually agree because they were talking about that more. Whereas, like, it's kind of a balance patch for every character. So, like, even your Lilies or your Lukes are going to end up getting something, which is good. But I still want my system mechanic changes. We got to nerf some of the system mechanics. You can buff Lily a million times, but it's not going to help.
You don't think this will be the one where they shake it up a little bit more? That he specifically called out overarching changes. He didn't say system mechanics. That phrase wasn't used at any point. And even in the official Street Fighter Twitter account where they confirmed the balance patch, they said battle balance adjustments for all characters. So they did not, at no point was the term system mechanics used, and it's even less hinting in that direction in the Twitter account. But I'm telling you, man, he said overarching changes. To me, that implies it's going to be something like Matsumoto made it a clear distinction. We decided to kick it down the road because it wasn't clear enough the difference between individual characters and total changes. That could mean something, or it could mean things like what did they do? They added the ability for crouching light kicks to anti-air to all the cast, which did nothing.
Yeah, exactly.
That was an overarching change. It wasn't really a system mechanics change to the drive system. So it could be one of those.
Yeah, it could be useless. I'll believe it when I see it. I've been on the I the first couple of updates I was expecting something, but now like there's been so many, hey, we're gonna change a lot, and then the game ends up still being more or less the same, and then I'm like, I'll believe it when I see it now. Now it's kind of my trust is already gone.
That's true. They did announce that prior to the September patch, which ended up being nothing. They said for this whole season, like, yeah, we plan on doing more frequent balance updates. It sounds like they promised that, and what they ended up doing is they worked too hard and too long on one update, and it got too big, and they were like, oh, we're scared to shake things up right now, and we're not clear on the messaging for this, so they kicked the can down the road. So it seems like they had a problem, like they were working on changes for a long time, and they felt unsure about when to release it or how to break this up into smaller updates. So I think they just went back to their old ways of like accidentally making a giant balance patch instead of drip feeding feedback changes that are in responsive to feedback about what they're seeing in the game as they go.
I do think for if they do change every character, I do think that'll be like a blessing, because obviously a lot of the characters, even from season 2 to 3, kind of play very similar to how they played before. So I do think changing a lot of the characters will be great. And obviously, with Capcom Cup right around the corner, people would be upset if their character did get nerfed. So I do like that they kind of took a break, but also I want the system changes, man. Capcom, please. I just want the system changes. Don't give me the character changes. I'll give you my soul. You don't have to change Manon or Viper or Mai or whoever it is. Just give me a system mechanic nerf.
I don't know if that's gonna happen, man. The game is very popular, maybe in part because of the system mechanics. We'll see. And just to be clear about the timelines, March 17th is right after Capcom Cup concludes. So it's kind of funny, before, like with this season, for example, the balance update for season 2 did not go out until like during the middle of this competitive season, right? We played Combo Breaker on the old patch. And maybe even was it CEO on the old patch? No, CEO,
it was Evo Japan. Evo Japan
and Combo Breaker were the two CPT qualifying events that were played on the old patch, and then CEO is the first one on the new patch, which is like insane from the perspective of someone who's been around in the CPT season before. You always finish Capcom Cup and then put out your major balance update, and then they prepare in the off season with the new update for the upcoming season, right? So that was crazy, but a lot of that may have been to do with preparing for the Switch 2 release. Like that was all tied together. And maybe now it sounds like, hey, they're actually getting in sync. Let's finish out Capcom Cup, finish this season, get the release out. Let's kick the can down the road. And maybe this will be catching the stride for the rest of the years of Street Fighter 6 playing out with this kind of update cadence. There's that aspect to it. Also, there's the other angle of this where there was finally that tipping point where large members of the Japanese community like Shuto were speaking out about after the December balance patch. There was a lot of negative feedback from the Japanese community where I know so many comments like to point out it's only us negative Americans complaining all the time. There was a tipping point where vocal members of the Japanese community were saying that they're finding the game to be a little stale, and it would be a nice refresher and a little fun to have more frequent and larger swings when coming to updating the balance. And even Daigo, his video right before he got to have the discussion with Matsumoto-san was him talking to his stream saying, oh, I was so naive to think that they would balance the game. He was dropping bars like that, like eventually everyone seems to be protesting and just switching to Ed, because at this time in Street Fighter Japan, they all think, Ed's the best character. And so the casual audience is like, everyone should just switch to Ed to protest no balance changes. So it felt like the community's getting a little grumpy, and then finally Matsumoto stepped up like, hey, we promise. We promise the big one's coming. So it might be a shakeup for real. Who knows?
The moral of the story is complaining works. I don't know why people don't realize it. Complaining works. People just don't want to admit it. You just, you're being grumpy, just go play something else. Complaining works. I'm sorry. That's the world we live in.
I'm trying to justify his content strategy here.
It's a real thing. It's a real thing. I understand, like, if you're complaining about something that is unimportant or something you could fix, then it's fine. I mean, then like that complaining is not good. But if you're complaining and there's people on your side, like, yeah, wait a minute, this guy is right, then maybe the guy is right. If I'm complaining about getting cold fries from McDonald's because I didn't eat them in time, that's my fault. That's a skill issue. But if I'm complaining that the fries are bad, then You know, everyone's saying the fries are bad.
That's a really interesting analogy. I think I saw that. Was the
That
Corey
was
drop something?
that was when Corey gave it. Actually,
Oh,
I was talking to him.
you're still in bars right now for
I
Corey.
was talking.
Okay.
I was talking to him at
I was like, wow,
Frosty.
that sounds very poetic. Okay.
I was talking to him at Frosty Faustings, and we had a lot of conversations about podcasts and doing content. That was fun. But yeah, I was like, that's so smart. I agree with that. That's so understanding.
Yeah. Shout out to Gerald. Yeah. His analogy about the fries, like you're mentioning, like, listen, I think there was a clip he had where he was talking about discourse and social media and complaints and taking feedback as a developer, where you should listen to the complaints but not the solution, I think was the line of thinking he was going on. And that's the example he used. Like, well, they complained that the fries are cold and they didn't eat them long enough. That's not really our problem. But if they said the fries are cold right when they got them, you know what I mean? Like, you have to actually dissect feedback to take away actionable steps that you could take to improve your product and experience. And that's very true in social media. But, like, I get people complaining about complaining also, because it can ruin the experience in the community as well. I think there's nuance to it. Social media drives a lot of negativity, and it makes that a constant problem, especially anything algorithmically driven. Negativity is so easy to push, playing on people's emotions. Like, there's a balance either way there. But protesting, for example, or advocating for consumer rights, that's a form of complaining, and sometimes it's justified. Now, complaining that, Ken isn't top tier, that might be seen as a little annoying, like.
Yeah, I mean, that's bad complaining. Like I said, that's complaining that my fries are cold, that I didn't eat them when I got them. But if you're like, yo, game's kind of stale, or Triforce is annoying, or this and that, and it's like, okay, if there's like 35% of the community saying that, maybe they're onto something. Maybe they're right.
I mean, I would like some system mechanic changes too, potentially, but there is a big argument to be seen for the game doing better than ever and selling really well. So I also get those pushbacks objectively. I definitely understand that. Like I said, I think the tipping point was the primary audience where this game is by far the most successful, which is Japan. Street Fighter 6 is exponentially taken off in Japan, and Street Fighter 6 only marginally percentage-wise improved in the States or in the rest of the world. It's not exponential like Japan. Listening to the Japanese audience makes sense to me, as much as it pains me to say.
This game's on like a Street Fighter 2 pace. I heard it. Like, I heard it's better than 5 and 4. Like, in terms of sale, it's just like going up and up and up and up. I mean,
yeah,
makes sense.
It's definitely eclipsed 4. I haven't heard about the comparison to 2, but it's definitely eclipsed 4, which is a big one. So
yeah.
So can you blame them for not wanting to shake the boat?
Yeah, but if you have McDonald's every day for a week, what a McDonald's. Like, come on, you're gonna be like, why am I eating
Which
McDonald's?
is why people in the comments are gonna say, don't eat McDonald's every day, right? Like, like, I'm playing devil's advocate. I lean more in your direction of would prefer system mechanics changes, but I also understand the other direction where there's the naysayers are like, this game is perfect the way it is, and it's your fault for over consuming. Like, if you can have the world's best steak, Wagyu steak, and if you eat too much of it, it's gonna make your tummy hurt, so I kind of get both sides a little.
Hold on. If I'm eating a steak and that steak is that good, I can have that steak every day. I'm not complaining about that. McDonald's, I can't have McDonald's every day. That's kind of bad. If the steak is that good, I could eat it every day.
True. You could also make the claim that the best junk food, no matter what, will eventually give you a tummy ache, but a well-balanced diet, will sustain you for a lifetime, right? No, there's different ways you can take the analogy. Either way, there's going to be a balance patch coming. I'm hoping it makes people excited to play with a decent shakeup. So for those who are waiting for a balance patch, they've heard your cries. We'll see how it goes. And I'm just excited to see that it's kind of syncing up with the CPT schedule. I love like a big balance patch, plus everyone getting ready in the off season to prepare something new for when the tournament season starts up again. That to me is kind of hype. I like that. So I like the schedule, even though it took them kicking the can down the road and kind of delaying any kind of shakeup. Maybe it'll be worth it to like sync things up and maybe get things off on a good foot. I don't know if that'll actually be the case as we go through the season, but I'm hopeful that people are happy with this patch, and then we have an interesting tournament season to follow it. But another big update, well, kind of a minor one, speculation here. We've been talking a lot about the issues with Capcom Cup going pay-per-view, and we're harping on that. How can you make us pay for pay-per-view for Capcom Cup? There might have been a solution tested out here by Capcom themselves. They were doing a Battle Hub live stream test in Battle Hub, live streaming Street Fighter League reruns, where you can open up Battle Hub, and on the big screen that's been very underutilized in Battle Hub, they actually showed a rerun episode in this test stream of Street Fighter League Japan. You're able to walk around, see it in the background, hear the audio, and sit and actually pull it up to full screen and watch the stream itself. And there's footage of people testing this out. It was only available for a few hours at a Japan time zone. So I got to see videos of people there viewing it and checking it out. So speculation is already flying. Like, is this going to be how they're going to show CPT tournaments in the future? Because this was something that we said was an obvious win. Get people into the esports scene in the game and natural integration. Why haven't they done this? It felt like this was supposed to be there since release. Maybe it's finally coming to fruition.
I think that is like the best thing they could have done, but I am a bit skeptical on a few things about it. I feel like one of the big benefits for like Capcom Cup not being pay-per-view is like, hey, I'm a random guy. I'm scrolling Twitch. Oh, what's this big tournament that has 100K, 200K viewer? What's going on here? Wait a minute. This game looks sick. Let me buy Street Fighter 6. That to me, I feel like it's a whole marketing strategy. But then, like I said, if I have Street Fighter 6 and I go on 6 to watch Capcom Cup, I already have the game. What am I doing?
Well, yeah, you're not wrong about that. I think the consolation prize we mentioned before was at least let people who have already purchased your product watch Capcom Cup for free.
Mm-hmm.
To be clear, if you're listening, you don't know my at least personal past opinion on the pay-per-view for Capcom Cup. I think it's asinine. I think it's stupid as all hell and antithetical to the community spirit of Capcom Cup, where you're actually being subsidized as Capcom as an esports brand by local communities, hosting these events, running these tournaments, getting these players, sending them all the way to Japan. Then you're charging a fee where, with the localized price for players from these regions, the audience probably can't even afford to watch the tournament. And then you bar content from being created from it, which limits visibility, limits the derivative content from it and advertisement about it. And it's like, for what? Usually the whole point of your World Tour finals, your esports, is to advertise the game and generate sales of the game as a marketing cost. They're instead trying to make a profit on the esports itself because their esports division is totally isolated from the dev team. Seems like a structural problem at Capcom. I think it's a bad play. But we were saying, like, hey, at least, like, if we've already bought the game, man, let us watch it in the Battle Hub. I might consider that. I might consider putting up the game and watching it.
I'm not complaining. Like, I already have the game, so like I'm not complaining about this. I think it's great for me and people like me who are interested in watching the finals anyway. But I still feel like it's a marketing strategy, and it's just like you're doing it backwards. If somebody doesn't own 6, unless they're like, oh, I guess I gotta buy 6 now to watch Capcom Cup. I mean, you could probably get 6 for like $20 right now on like some of the websites, but that's not the point. So it does kind of suck. I think it's kind of bad. As I can only imagine how many people got inspired from like watching Bloo's play last year. So many people came up to me after I won Capcom Cup. It was like, hey, I got in Street Fighter because watching your lore was sick. So those are the people who I think are not going to benefit from it being on 6, and you got to own Street Fighter 6. But for us, already in the community, it's great for us, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, like, to at least escape being penalized again and having to force to pay to watch something like that. But yeah, I know, I totally agree. It's like, it is backwards, like you mentioned. Usually, the main focus is using your broadcast to advertise your product, right? You use the Capcom Cup to advertise Street Fighter 6 to capture an external audience. Now you're using Street Fighter 6 to advertise your broadcast. It is a little bit backwards, or at least it used to be symbiotic to a degree, right? Like, the events generates buzz, interest, people buy the product, And then maybe if you also have these announcements in game, it also just captures your target demographic, people who might already be buying your game on a whim outside of the esports circle and don't know about this, and it makes them more lifelong fans, and it keeps them as returning customers, right? Instead of being one-off people who play casually for a while, maybe they get to see the esports side of things and become returning customers who buy your DLC, become embedded into your community, right? Like it reinforces, it recaptures your audience even deeper into your community, right? Which makes sense, keeping it symbiotic like that. But to have the only option for viewing in the game is definitely backwards. 100%. Like or they're gonna try to use social media channels. Like, this is all speculation, by the way. None of this is confirmed. Hey, either pay $40 for pay-per-view or buy the game already right away and see this, which is like, I don't know, like, you're not using the buzz generated naturally by the drama of the esports to drive viewership to the game and make people excited. Any kind of gatekeeping to accessing the World Tour Finals feels like you're missing the point. It's supposed to be the open invitation to see if you're curious about this, not something that is supposed to put up barriers to entry to view.
I think there's one huge benefit and one huge decline for it. The benefit is, while there's a million ads going on for Capcom Cup, if you can watch Capcom Cup in the Battle Hub, hey, you can just play casuals while the ads are on. You never thought about that. You're already on the game. It's actually pretty smart. You could just load up somebody at the cab, could actually just go sit down. They could play. There's a lot of, like I said, there's a lot of benefits for that as well. So I think that's great. The problem is, how is like streaming going to work? Because if I hypothetically say I stream Capcom Cup, I own the game. I'm technically scamming the pay-per-view, I guess. I have the game. There's no other way around it. Yeah, like what do they even say about that? Like, there's so many loopholes, I feel like, if they do it that way too.
Yeah,
like,
we thought we were gonna have to go to Streamies to watch Capcom Cup. Instead, just boot up Battle Hub and one person streams it. I'm just streaming Street Fighter 6, man. I don't even know what Capcom Cup is. I just love hanging out in the Battle Hub. You know what I mean? Like, get the Cap Cups away from me. Yeah, I mean, once again, speculation. We don't even know if Capcom Cup is going to be in there, but clearly they're interested in promoting esports in the Battle Hub. So beyond how much of a shit show charging pay-per-view for Capcom Cup is, this is a cool feature, and we wanted this from the beginning. It makes sense to have this integration, and I love integration like that to bring like the casual audience to understand and view the esports division. I think that's only like a benefit overall. Capcom Cup aside, I think it's really cool. We'll see if it comes to be. I don't know. If they have Capcom Cup in the Battle Hub, are you paying the pay-per-view item, or are you booting up the hub? What's going on there?
I'm just going battle. It's funny because like other esports do that too. Like Overwatch always did that. Marvel Rivals. If there's a tournament going on, they'll tell you, "Hey, go watch the tournament. It's live right now." They have like a little live thing on the top right of the screen, I want to say. If you're playing and it's like, "Yo, there's a Overwatch tournament going on, the Rivals tournament." I think that's cool. If obviously if you boot up 6 and it's like, Capcom Cup live, that'll be cool. The other thing that's a bit scary is if that is successful. How will the other tournaments do it? Maybe they'll be like, hey, if you want to watch Street Fighter League, you gotta go on the Battle Hub. If you want to watch, I don't know, EWC, you gotta go on the Battle Hub. They can start gatekeeping more events, so that's also a bit scary too.
I don't think they'll do that. I mean, maybe I'm not jaded enough. I don't think it's gonna go backwards in that direction, in my opinion, because, well, maybe. What, you think they're gonna do pay-per-view everything, lock it all down, and then make you go to the Battle Hub?
They wouldn't be able to do that for like obviously like a Combo Breaker or a CEO, but for their Capcom sanctioned events, they could definitely get away with it. I mean, they're already showing Street Fighter League Japan in there, so stop it.
A rerun of the qualification to the finals, which was not pay-per-view. So the pay-per-view finals were not. Also, Street Fighter League Japan finals happened. We're not talking about it because we didn't watch it because it's pay-per-view, and so we're completely disconnected. Like, you're seeing it in action right now, right? Like, this is like a Street Fighter podcast, and I don't give a shit that Lashard, Daigo, and Tokido won Street Fighter League Japan because I can't watch it or make content on it.
It's actually so funny because I think it was me, Jack, and Dual Kevin. We were going out to dinner, and I think Jack was telling me it was like $20 or $40 to watch it. I was like, I'm not paying. I'm not chipping in for that. I'm trying to go out and eat. I'm not trying to pay that money to watch Street Fighter League, and I wasn't even that interested. So it's not that I didn't want to watch it. If it was just like, hey, boot up Twitch and let's go out to eat and we put the phone on the table and we all watch it, That would have been great, but $40, I didn't pay.
In general, the whole ecosystem around it, because of that lack, not just the pay-per-view for the finals, but the fact that you're not allowed to make content on it. You can't use any video footage. It's completely decreased the Western awareness of Street Fighter League Japan. For me included, right? Like, if I could make content in Street Fighter League, I would probably do some VOD reviews on stream and make YouTube videos about it and highlight stuff about it. And that would increase my own awareness of it, right? Like, if I'm going to spend my time after work watching this stuff, I'm going to want to try to make it part of my content schedule. Otherwise, I'm going to do other things, right? I'm going to do other things that I'm allowed to do. I can either stream or I can sit here and watch Street Fighter League Japan videos to talk about it later on. And, you know, without using any video snippets to tell you guys the results. Like, I'm not going to do that, right? And so I think because of that whole ecosystem being closed off from Western content creators, it airs at a time where we're all sleeping. We're entirely disconnected from one of the largest esports initiatives for Street Fighter esports right now. Completely disconnected from it. And that's because of this pay-per-view and lockdown of content creation, which are applying now to Capcom Cup. We're beating a dead horse here. It just blows my mind. I can't believe it. So, I don't know. Hopefully Battle Hub is a positive feature, this live stream feature, and not more incentive for Capcom to start charging for everything and making sure that no one can watch the best players play Street Fighter, because I like to watch that stuff. It's fun. Yeah. I'd rather be able to enjoy that and share that appreciation and passion than not be able to. So please, Capcom, use your noggins, please. Anyways, more positive news here instead. Frosty Faustings just concluded one of the premier fighting game community events, and the only one brave enough to run a major in Chicago in January, because they're not kidding when they say Frosty. Like, I haven't been there in a while since COVID, but I was shoveling snow to get my car out of the hotel before. I've spun out on the off-ramp driving to the venue. Like, it's real out there. And the competitors showed up for Street Fighter 6 and 2XKO especially. We're going to cover those tournaments. And iDom was out there competing as well, doing his thing. So how was the event experience for you, iDom?
It was cold, but, you know, I had a good time. I unfortunately didn't do as well as I wanted to do in Street Fighter. I did lose to Desnair. Desnair just played really good. You know, nothing to say for that. And I lost to Stealth and Loser. But Stealth got really far in bracket. Like I said, I think he got third. I'm not trying to sound salty. I'm really not trying to sound salty when I say
okay.
that. There was a drive rush that I knew was coming, and I just got smacked by JP's cane, and I lost because of it. If that drive rush was checked, because I knew it was coming, I would have won. This entire time, it would have been an entirely different timeline. I'm not trying to sound salty. Good stuff to Stealth, but losing like that just kind of really irks me.
You sound a little salty, not gonna lie, man. You leaned into the camera to say, "I'm not salty right now." Trust me, as I get closer to this camera, to let you know I am not salty.
The match happened off stream, but man, I lost him soon. I lost some nonsense.
You had a good run though. I mean, yeah, you went to the losers. I think shout out to Desnair. I think that was an upset. It's safe to say that he got you over there. But you had a pretty good run aside from that, right? You took out Nemo, took out Guy, took out Jack, right? Until Stealth got you. So that's not too bad. Like you had some names. I think you just went to losers too early. Like you got hit with an upset.
Yeah, it happens. Like I said, Desnair played really good. There's not really a complaint about that. Desnair actually just played.
And you brought up Stealth. Yes, that could have changed the course of the tournament, because that's one of the big storylines coming out of this Street Fighter 6 bracket. Stealth, who is the #1 ranked player from the Midwest World Warrior this region. Dual Kevin ended up qualifying from that out of points, because I believe that's for the top 3 points. That is what qualifies you. Your best 3 out of 5 tournaments in points qualifies you to Capcom Cup. So Stealth had the most number of points overall, or maybe I have it backwards. I forget what it is. But for one of the point totals, Kevin qualified out, and Stealth had the most points at the end of the season, though. And that's in a region with Dual Kevin, with Joey, with Jack, right? So he's been doing the same with JP. I would say the best JP in NA right now, with Banana Ken out of on hiatus right now. Stealth went to losers in winners quarters finals to Shock Jock. Shout out to you. I'm not familiar with your game, but after that, Stealth won, I believe, 10 sets in a row, like 9 to 10 sets in a row to make it into top 8. So on that run, he's taken out Neo Judai, Dr. African, Thunder, iDom, Ramsey, and in this top 8, he goes on a tear as well, taking out some of the best players, and including first up Punk in 7th place. Punk won 2024 Frosty Faustings. He's won in the past for Street Fighter V a bunch of times as well. Punk was in losers because he had to play Riddles in Winners Top 48, and Riddles played amazing with his Terry, beat Punk's Cammy and Ryu, and went on to Winners Side Top 8 after that. And Punk was out at 7th in a crazy set, but Stealth was playing too good. I don't know if you saw that final round where Punk was like blocking all of JP's level 2 and defended against all the unblockable type setups, and then hit the level 2 himself on the DI reaction, ran it all the way back to a final round, but Stealth ended up closing that out. So definitely one of the big takeaways from this, and one of the surprise faces for a lot of people who haven't had their eyes to the street really of all these World Warrior players. But other than that, in the top 8, it was pretty interesting to see Noah the Prodigy in there. He had the he was the reigning champion at this point. He won the previous year's tournament, and he beat Goichi to qualify into top 8 losers. So there was a handful of Japanese players in the mix. Like, you took out Nemo. Goichi was in there from playing for City of the Wolves. It was really funny to see day 2, Noah beating Goichi by doing Noah things, going in, constant aggression, constant jumping, overloading his mental stack. Goichi couldn't anti-air consistently, succumbed to the pressure. Then in top 8 loser side, he goes up against Chris G, also playing Chun-Li, but modern. This was very interesting. Did you see the difference? Yeah. Did you see both these matches?
Chris, I've played Chris a few times in 6. Chris just plays incredibly slow, because obviously modern's going to stop you from basically being able to do anything if you're ready to react. So yeah, Chris plays incredibly slow and will just like pick his spots. Chun-Li's jab is a sword. She has one of the furthest low medium kick drive rushes. So Chris is very good at kind of just like stopping Noah. And I also think Goichi probably they don't have a Noah adjacent probably in Japan, like somebody who plays like that. So Goichi was probably just over. I don't think they play. I think Noah plays a bit more ham than an Ao.
Maybe. But maybe. You just think Goichi wasn't ready?
Yeah, I just think he just got maybe a bit overwhelmed. I mean, he just won City of Wolves and then had to play Noah.
Yeah, true. Yeah, to be fair to Nemo, Koji Kog, and Goichi were in the Street Fighter 6 bracket, but they're there for City of the Wolves, which was a SNK World Cup qualifying event. So, $1.5 million on the line. This was not a CPT event. That's their focus right now. And Goichi did win that tournament. So shout out to Goichi for that. But yeah, it was really amazing to see the difference, because so many times Goichi's trying to anti-air. Chun-Li's anti-airs are a little bit weaker and more space dependent horizontally. Her potential kicks are a down input, and then more horizontally spaced out. She has heavy kick or towards heavy kick, which is way slower in startup. And Noah just kept jumping. He just kept jumping, and eventually one of those heavy punches is going to land. He tried the exact same thing versus Chris G. Chris G did modern anti-air with potential kicks every single time, and then Noah goes ham on offense, burning himself out, and then he gets clipped, or Chris G finally gets put into burnout. He spends his own drive gauge liberally on his own offense, because at the moment that Noah tries to DI him, he modern level 2 instant reaction or level 1 instant reaction. So it was crazy to see how modern actually was a big difference in dealing with Noah's playstyle specifically, which is, Noah goes ham to overload your mental stack and you can't keep up with him, but modern eases that, gives you the reactions, and totally changed the flow of that match. So if you're interested in those two sides of that coin, I think those two matches in a row side by side are so interesting to watch, the impact of modern at high level and how you really need to adjust. So it's possible to beat, of course, but Noah was not adjusting. He had his one way he wanted to approach it, and Chris G took that set. So shout out to Chris G there. Yeah, Chris G actually ended up in 4th place, taking out Dual Kevin. Dual Kevin lost in winter semis to Blue's Deejay, and then got eliminated by Chris G. Dual Kevin got 2nd 2 years in a row at Frosty Faustings, and this year ended in 5th. So when's Dual Kevin gonna win a big one, man? When's he gonna win?
Well, no, it's rough. You don't want to always be the bridesmaid. He's gonna have his one tournament. Hey, it might be Capcom Cup. Who knows?
Might be. I just feel like this is a tournament he's always been so close in, and he's gotten so close to winning majors so often, but he hasn't closed out yet. But yeah, Stealth also took out Chris G, but he also took out Riddles. Riddles had a great run, beating Punk, like I said. Lost 3-2 last game, last round to Kaba on a final guess. Kaba was forced to block Riddles' OD fireball. He drive rushes in, and Kaba lets the OD flash kick rip on the guess for game, literally. If he blocked, Riddles was going to grab him. So it was a coin flip situation. Kaba won the final last coin flip. Riddles went down to losers before being eliminated by Stealth, going to winners finals. But the interesting thing here is top four. We had Modern Chun-Li, JP with Stealth, Kaba with Guile, and Bloo getting into winners finals, taking out Kaba 3-1 and going to grand finals winner side with Deejay. This top four was very interesting. This reminded me a little bit of like season 1. We had charge characters all over the place and a Modern Chun-Li and a JP. I feel like we haven't seen this kind of character spread in forever, and a regional even. Not, I mean, obviously in an international major, I think it'll be a bit different, but winners finals and grand finals was a charge showdown. That does not happen very often, I feel like, in these tournaments. Is that surprising to you?
But I feel like a lot of the characters. No, not really. I mean, I don't think there's too many bad characters. Like, obviously, DJ's very good at overwhelming people. Hell, I think the last interaction was, I think Blue did a drive rush jab and Kaba got clocked, and then that was the end of the tournament. But yeah, I mean, it happens. Blue played amazing. Kaba had very high moments, especially versus Riddle. Stealth played good. It was a good tournament. I also think I didn't really get to catch the rest of the grand finals because I was playing Strive because I was in top 32. Yeah, it was an interesting end. I did see the final interaction with Blue clocking Kaba with driver jab, but I didn't get to watch most of the grand.
iDom, the anime player, looking up from his setup to see drive rush button taking the Street Fighter 6 tournament and just going typical and going back.
I know what you guys are doing over there. I know exactly what's going on over there.
Well, listen, let me give a little bit more context here. Let's give some shout outs to Blue. Yes, Blue is the Frosty Faustings champion here, and a lot of people, I think, were caught off guard by this, and I was setting up Stealth here, pointing out his accomplishments in the Midwest World Warrior, because Blue is very similar. He wasn't the #1 ranking player in his region, but Blue competes out of NA East with, iDom, Knuckle Punk, and he's been consistently in those regional finals, I think, for the last 2 seasons. And has performed really well. And he was, I believe, only ranked 7th or 8th in points this season, but in the regional finals itself, he ended up in 4th place with a really strong finish in a super stacked region like that. And he's consistently placing really high in TNS, even won at least one of them recently. So if you've been paying attention to the World Warrior and the online NA scene, like, you're familiar with Blue, and you're familiar with his Deejay. And yeah, it was just his weekend, man. He played perfectly. It was a bit of a TNS showdown. Like, Kaba and Blue definitely play a lot in those TNS tournaments. And Blue ended up taking it in the Charge Showdown and doing a big win for Miami. You got to give a shout out. Blue's the new school of Miami. I'm from Miami originally, but I've moved on. I haven't kept up with the FGC in there. He had the University of Miami beanie on right there. He had the DJ tank. He's doing his thing. So, South Florida, Miami. See, the funny thing is, for me, is like, I can kind of claim whatever. Like the Blue Dual Kevin match. It's like, oh, do I claim Midwest here, or do I claim Miami? I waited to see who won. Then I'm like, okay, Blue won. Let's go Miami. I've been Miami since day one, man. Of course.
That's not fair. I had to root for Punk to win for East Coast. That was it. That's all I had. Actually, Punk's not even in Florida anyway, so I didn't have. Chris G had to win. Chris G, New York, Chris G.
NY Chris G's in the name.
NY Chris G. Yep, that was who I was rooting for to win.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. I feel like the regional representation was also interesting. It was definitely not, I think, what people were expecting out of this tournament on the name recognition alone. So I want to give a big shout out to all the players doing work there. Stealth and Blue making big waves, making names for themselves, getting that offline exposure to back up their consistent online results. Because until you do it with the camera on your face and the crowd to your back, I think people don't really give you the credit you deserve. So I think this was a really big weekend for Blue and Stealth specifically. So congratulations, Celt, on your crazy run, Bloo on the victory. It was definitely a really fun tournament to watch. But that said, another fun tournament was 2XKO. I was pleasantly surprised with 2XKO at Frosty Faustings. This is the first major tournament for 2XKO since the game has officially launched on consoles. The game is now fully out of early access, available on console. And this tournament was part of the 2XKO CS 2026, the competitive series. So that means that Frosty Faustings had $50,000 in prizing added to the pot, courtesy of the 2XKO team and Riot. And that's split up pretty heavily because they pay out all the way, I think, until top 24. You get a cool 150 for placing top 24, all the way up to 20,000 for first place. So a lot of players entering this tournament. It was free entry as well. So that definitely inflated the player count because a lot of people DQ'd, a massive amount of DQs. But this was very interesting because going to this tournament, 2XKO has been having a rough time a little bit. Launch was not as, seamless as it could have been. There's been a lot of PR mishaps for them, unfortunately, in the social media age. A lot of people definitely looking to dunk on 2XKO. Console release had some issues, definitely a lot of screen tearing on PS5. There were some server issues, a couple of bugs on release. They've been moving really fast to address all the issues, but it was not like an amazing blowout success on console launch, I don't think. That was not the perception I felt from the greater community. So this was their chance to get in front of a live audience and have at least a hype top 24, top 8, put on a good show and get people interested in the game and correct course, I think, for the vibes around 2XKO. And I think it delivered. I really enjoyed the top 24 to top 8, and there was a lot of good storylines going into it. For example, like half of France showing up to compete in this game. I don't know. Did you watch any of the French players going at it?
I was watching all the top 24. I mean, France loves their team games. I don't know what it is, but they were all showing out. Sonicfox and Inzem playing duos in tournament. To me, that was the most eye-opening thing because I always praise how fun duos are. Like, I actually really enjoy playing duos. I do think they should start doing, like, I know it'll probably take a long time, but they should do a singles tournament and a duos tournament just for people to have two different tournaments, similar to like Smash, I guess. But I think that would be kind of more enjoyable because
they did that.
Oh no! But like
they did that
for like the actual like tour, like 2 divides.
Oh, you mean for the whole tour?
Yeah,
they did do it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
they did do a side 2v2 tournament.
Yeah, not the 2v2 that it was just like Frosty Faustings. Right?
Oh, you mean like big money for Okay.
I think it's the fun way to play the game. It'll probably get people upset at one another, but I thought it was really interesting watching Inzem and Sonicfox play together because I was like, oh, that's interesting. And seeing two people on one side of the stage and seeing one person playing against two people always kind of funny to me. But yeah, I really enjoyed the tournament. I got to steal a lot of Caitlyn tech. There are a lot of people playing Caitlyn there, and obviously, I've been playing Caitlyn a lot myself. So really, really fun tournament. I think the character spread was also pretty good. I think the only character who didn't get picked that much was like Braum, but you saw like pretty much every character in the game too.
Right. Yeah, I think overall the storylines, the variety, the level of play, and the hype, it actually all worked out because there's so many ways this could have went wrong. This could have been a lame duck top 8 with everybody playing Echo Yasuo, and you know what I mean? Like it could have been, there was a lot of ways for this to not go well and to be a bad viewing experience, considering all the critiques the game has had and the balance issues leading up to this point. And it worked out really well. Sonicfox and Inzem was definitely an interesting storyline. So like I mentioned before, they did have a 2v2 tournament, but it wasn't it didn't have the big prize pool. So there wasn't going to be that much salt if you lost the casual 2v2. But Sonicfox and Inzem also entered the main bracket as a 2v2. And they went to losers early, actually, and ran it all the way back to make it to the top 8. And the other like big storyline for 2v2 was the twins out of Japan. They call themselves the 2WINZ, something like that. Like twins is in the name. They got second place in the 2v2 bracket, but Sonicfox and Inzem beat the brakes off of them. Both those teams went to losers early in top 48, and Sonicfox and Inzem eliminated twins again in like losers top 48 or something like that. So They were the only duo to get that far. And yeah, it's funny to see like one person there, the duo right there, like giving comms to each other. So that was interesting to see in the top 8. All of France, they're all DBFZ refugees, is what I think it is. They love DBFZ, and it was like all the DBFZ players that you've seen the World Tour and Evo over the years. They're all there. At least I feel like it was at minimum 20 top level French players. It was crazy. They were all over the top 48. They all eliminated each other though, because they went to losers too early, except for Senshi and Kane. They were the only people who actually made it into the final top 8 bracket. But look through top 24 and top 48, so many French players there. The other storyline is Wawa, who won Evo France. It was a side tournament. He was like the number 1 seed, I believe.
Yeah,
he's 3 for 3 for his tournaments, winning all of them. He had not lost a tournament. He got first place in all 3 offline majors he's attended so far. He got top 48, so that like blew the tournament wide open, and left France heartbroken as well.
Shout outs to Crocs and Socks, the best Slayer player in New York. He actually, I was like, I'm not even surprised Crocs beat him. Shout outs to Crocs. He a Guilty Gear player. He plays a lot of Rev. He played Strive. He played Go Strive, and now he plays Slayer. But I knew Crocs was nice. I was like, this is gonna be a good match. As soon as it went on, as soon as I saw them playing, I was like, this is gonna be a good match. Not gonna be ready for this. It's funny because Crocs usually plays duo, but for that tournament, I don't think his duo went, so he had to play by himself.
Oh, really? So he only coincidentally had to play singles to take out the number 1 seed in the tournament.
Yeah, that's why I thought it was kind of funny too.
Yeah, that might be the breakup of the duo right there. So listen, as soon as we parted ways, I'm beating Wawa. Hey, we might be done here. Yeah, duos is great for drama. I definitely was pointing that out. Like I was waiting for eventually the time where it stops going, haha, hee hee. Oh, good try. We did our best. What the fuck are you doing, man? you need the 20K on the line, some big money for the salt to come out. It definitely will add another layer of drama. But yeah, it was cool that they allow that. Like, it's great that they allow the duos into the main bracket. And I mean, there's, for people who don't know, like, there's theoretically things you can do in duos that are better and or impossible with singles. The way you can program extensions on your special moves when you are tagged out. If you're controlling a point character, you have to hide that input by doing another action, then input the special for your tagged out character. You have to like mask inputs in creative ways. If you're doing duos, when you tag out and your partner is playing the tagged out character, you can do whatever you want. You can do nothing in neutral. You can move around, and they can program their follow-ups in ways that is either really hard to impossible to do in a single scenario. So there is theoretically some stuff that can push duos to be more competitively viable than even singles. Will that happen? I don't think so. I think it's too hard. But theoretically, there's something.
Yeah, I think so too. Like I said, I'm more interested in duos, but if I were playing, I'm just playing single. Don't mess me up.
That's true. When it gets serious, I agree. But I respect the psychos who want to push it. So I'm glad Sonicfox and Inzem went for that. But as far as the actual top 8 and the way it shook out, I think the big story is, of course, the champion himself, man. Oni Bleed, 16 years old, cooked this tournament and takes the 20K first place prize pool in the grand finals over Supernoon. And they were playing their ass off. Like, they were gaming so much. It was a bit of an Echo showdown. There was the concern of having too much of the same characters on the screen, and Echo was a big part of this top 8. However, both of them, Supernoon plays Darius, Echo Darius, and Bleed plays Echo Illaoi. Their other characters did a lot of work, and I would argue that the star of the show was Bleed's Illaoi. He was playing with just great fundamental strike throw pressure, amazing button placement and timing, basic stagger pressure. There's so many rounds where Noon would, do some insane Echo shit and body Bleed's Echo, and then Bleed would make the comeback with Illaoi. Just fundies Illaoi.
Yeah.
Just basic fundies Illaoi. But they were going insane in that set. Bleed put Supernoon into losers in the winners finals, then ended up taking it in the grand finals, and a really, really close set. I believe it was 3-2 in that grand final set as well. Or there was actually a reset, excuse me. There was a reset by Noon to the 3-1. And I really enjoyed that top 8. It was actually hype. I was concerned there wouldn't be hype. It was hype.
I think that top 8 was a good first tournament for that. I also want to say the way Bleed was using like Illaoi to poke, like I think it's Illaoi S1, whichever one smacks like the little totem, but like he was using the tentacles to kind of poke, but then using Echo's assist to kind of like take the space or hit confirm basically with it. So he was kind of waiting for, Illaoi has huge normals and it's very hard to approach Illaoi. So he's kind of just using Illaoi as a poke and then Echo to kind of get the party started after. So I thought that was actually really smart way to kind of use Illaoi.
Yeah, he was covering massive amounts of range. Like he just had more screen control, really. And but then it was insane to see the sequences where he would just be like jab dash jab dash jab in Super Dune's face after the insane Echo rewind install shenanigans. How like mind melting the Echo situations were when it came to Illaoi. It was just like basically like, I dare you to press something, I dare you to move, and I'm gonna stagger this pressure and confirm to your entire life bar. Just really like solid fundamental confidence at the end of the day is like the deciding factor, I think, in that set for Bleed. At only 16 years old, mind you. And basically, the question here was, who is Bleed, right? Like, that was the big question. Turns out, this was Bleed's first ever offline major. He had a post-tournament interview with IB out of France, who, shout out to IB, by the way. He came down to Frosty Faustings to stream the extra stream himself as a solo regular streamer to help stream a lot of the off-stream matches and promote the French players there. He sat down with Bleed, and he confirmed that's his first ever offline tournament. And then he also asked Bleed, what are you going to do with 20K? What's the first thing you're going to buy? And Bleed says he's going to buy every Bloons monkey. So his priorities straight.
I think some people just don't deserve the money. Why are you gonna do that? Don't buy the Bloons monkey. Don't play that game.
You're not gonna spend all your prize money on your mobile game to level up to the max level.
Not the mobile.
Pay to win,
game.
baby. He can finally pay to win.
I'd rather him buy all the costumes on 2SKO or buy the avatar skins. Don't give it to the Bloons game. Nobody likes that game. The only people I see playing that
that's
game.
the secret, man. That's the secret. You got to be a Bloons fan.
I'm telling you, the only people I know who play that game are under 18. They're all children. I don't get it. I know Bleed is also under 18. It's a kid's game, man. Don't buy that. There's better games out there.
Maybe that's what's trained his brain to be a godlike fighting game player, along with playing fighting games from a young age, right? We had a tweet here from Bum also, who saw in that interview where Bleed confirmed that he was entering HOC, House of Chaos, back in the day for online tournaments for Dragon Ball Fighters. And Bum was like, wait a minute, Bleed is Eat My Ki Blast? And he was saying that he saw him in his tournaments all the time getting better and better. So shout outs to Bum, right? Shout outs to the online TOs that they host these environments where players can enter online and hone their craft. And Bleed was practicing online, competing for a long time, so that in his very first offline showing at 16 years old, he takes the largest tournament here with the largest prize pool at Frosty Faustings, so he can get his money to upgrade his monkeys and balloons. Maybe invest it too. Maybe throw it into a high yield saving account.
What a dark timeline. Bloons. The Bloons. I know the Bloons creators are like rooting for Bleed every time now. They're gonna be rooting for Bleed every 2SKO tournament.
So he's gonna just keep winning all the tournaments and bleeding all his prize winnings over to the Bloons dev team. I'm sure he's gonna make responsible decisions. But either way, shout out to Bleed. I'm a fan. His gameplay was amazing. He put on an amazing performance, and I'm sure the 2XKO team is like, thank God Bleed won. You know what I mean? I think of all the storylines you can get out of this, it all came together. Unique character compositions. You had a hype duo. You had a great gameplay of the grand finals. And then the 16-year-old new kid won to make it an interesting storyline on top of it. I think there's a lot of great buzz from this tournament. And maybe we'll see more hype tournaments going forward. I think there's still going to be a challenge at the fact that the game has so few characters and there's the risk of things getting stale at this level. But I have a feeling that some minds were changed and some interest was generated in the game in a positive direction in a way that we haven't seen in a long time. So I feel inspired to learn some Echo. I don't know. Seems cheap.
I was inspired. As soon as I got home, I was telling everyone, I was like, because I was playing a bit of casuals there. I was playing my Caitlyn Vi. As soon as I get home, I'm practicing. I'm going back to Ari. I gotta go Ari or Caitlyn now. It's over. I can't play Vi.
You're inspired to go top tier also?
I mean, Ari's really good. That's all I can say. Ari's really good.
That's true. That's true. Well, hopefully you guys are inspired to pick up and play whatever fighting game you so choose. We're going to go ahead and wrap it up here for Extra Trashy. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you when you see it. And also, check out the Patreon. I've been looking for more conversations and inputs from you guys. Let me know what you guys think over there about the 2XKO tournament, about Frosty Faustings, and we'll have more conversations with you guys in the future. Thanks for tuning in. We're out of here. Peace. Thank you for making it to the end of another episode of Extra Trashy. If you're watching on your video feed on YouTube or Spotify, you're going to be seeing some names going by on the screen right now. These are the names of our supporters over at patreon.com/Brian_F. Without their support on Patreon, this show simply would not be possible. They also gain access to any early access to mainline trash talks and behind-the-scenes discussion and deleted scenes that don't make it over to the YouTube or Spotify. I'd like to personally thank our landfill members, Chris FK, Bryce Scatterfield, Chris K. Hibiki, Chuckle Chuck, SBO, Flawless Victory, Asterisk, John Lee, Jonathan Ayala, Kelly Lyles, 6 Mil, and Smoking Seabass. Thank you very much for your continued support, and thank you for tuning in to Extra Trashy.